Welcome back. This is Jason Hartman with another amazing lesson as we talk about one of my favorite things, buying and holding forever. Well, it's not really forever. I guess nothing's forever. They say diamonds are forever. I don't know about that. I think the real estate is better than the diamonds, but the ladies may disagree. Okay, so really long-term investing. What is that all about? Why is it important? Why is it even something we want to talk about? We've talked about various time horizons throughout the course, whether they be flipping a property, a really short time horizon, maybe just a couple of months, or longer-term investing, the buy and hold type investing, that might be as short as 3 to 5 years. But now we're going to talk about really long-term investing. What do I mean by that? Let's dive in and we'll see. What are some of the key factors involved in making long-term investments? Let's learn about the advantages and disadvantages of long-term investing. So some of the factors here: time horizon. What is the time horizon? When do you need to cash out of these investments? What is your overall plan for extracting wealth from your properties? Now, you're going to get a clue about something we will cover in the next lesson that I call Refi Till You Die, which is the most tax-efficient way to extract wealth from your real estate investment portfolio. It's something I've used, it's something my clients are using, and it is an exceptional, if I don't say so myself, strategy to do this. Well, good old Warren Buffett, we talked a little bit about him in a prior lesson, and he said that his favorite holding period for investments is forever. That's a pretty long time, Warren. And, but he's got a good take on that. As a value investor, there are a lot of benefits and a lot of efficiencies that come our way that are lost by short-term, and I'll say to some extent, short-sighted investors. You've heard me say before that over the years I've been in this business, I've noticed two kinds of people: the flippers and the buy and hold people. They're kind of like two separate camps. And the flippers, the people that are flipping properties, they have spending money. They make money. But because they're taxed at such a high rate, because they lose a lot on closing costs and transaction fees, because they have to spend a lot of time on their portfolio, they have spending money. But the buy and hold people, well, they have real wealth. And there's a big difference between those two. Spending money is great, but real long-term wealth is phenomenal, okay? So a long-term investor needs to be more patient. They need to wait for the market fundamentals to pan out, for the market to unfold, and for these benefits to come their way. This may mean that people who benefit the most from your investments are actually not you. They're the next generation, okay? And with income property, you can certainly create generational wealth. There are very few other things that really allow you to do that. I mean, you could create a big giant company and a big business and hand it down to your heirs, but they could mess it up. They could squander it with a property portfolio because it doesn't require as much attention, and it's not as sensitive to the style of management that's involved. Well, it's more stable, and it can really provide for generational wealth. Over the long term, fundamentals are the key. There are always price bubbles and crashes in the short-term horizon, but historically, over the long run, prices appreciate, and long-term investors who have sustainable portfolios and they create stability in those portfolios, they win the game. Staying power is the name of the game. So always remember that. Some of the advantages of long-term investing, well, certainly fundamentals, they really matter in the long run, and they really benefit us in the long run. Long-term investing is super tax efficient. It's the most tax efficient thing, and we've talked before about how taxes are the single largest expense any of us have in our lives. Now, I'm going to talk soon about my refi till you die strategy, which is a phenomenal way to extract the wealth from your real estate portfolio. So stay tuned, that's coming up, okay? Reduce stress. You know, a lot of this, we have to think not only of the investment characteristics, but we have to think of our own characteristics, don't we? Our own mental and physical health and our own stress levels. Because every investor worries about their investments. They think about them a lot. They stress about them. And we want to reduce the amount of stress we have in our life. So long-term investors, they have much less stress because they're not attached to the little ups and downs, what's going on in the news. This doesn't matter to them so much because they have a big plan and a long path to success. So the key to these long-term investment strategy is really investing for fundamentals versus the little frenzy and the bubbles and the frothiness and the craziness in the market. The long-term strategy is what really drives returns, and also noting that it's the most tax efficient and the most stable type of portfolio available out there. But it's not great in every way. There are some disadvantages. So, returns, they take time to materialize. This is not about instant gratification. It's about creating value over time. And that's really what investing is. There's less income than the sort of the high velocity flipper mentality where you're turning transactions and buying and selling all the time. But you know what? There may be less total income, but there's much lower taxes, of course, because you're getting taxed every time you trade one of those short-term properties, and you can't do those good old 1031 exchanges on the flips, only on the properties you intend to hold for longer term. And they require a lot less management. Of course, this is the slide about disadvantages, right? But, one of the advantages to the long-term investing is you don't have that level of attention required than this high-velocity flipping of properties. Also, the portfolio for the long term is not really optimized for the leveraged gains as well. But when we talk about my refi till you die strategy, I'm going to tell you how to solve that problem, okay? Maybe it's not quite as good as it is on the flipping. If you leverage flips and you flip them fast and you have high leverage and you make good profits, of course, on them, those leveraged returns can be pretty astronomical. But again, you have a lot of downfalls with that, as we've been discussing. And, you got to be patient, okay? We've talked about that. So the long-term investing is about buying strong fundamentals and holding them until the market prices reflect this underlying reality, the reality of the market. We talked before about regression to replacement cost. And this is where long-term investors can really shine, because when you buy properties in down markets and you get them below the cost of construction, we've had a prior lesson on this, of course, and you wait for them to regress to the replacement cost, which I define as being different than appreciation, okay? Then you really can benefit and really have some amazing return on investment. So achieving success in the long term requires this patience, and it's certainly not as exciting as the more aggressive strategies. So if you're addicted to the highs and lows and you love the roller coaster, long-term investing probably isn't going to be your thing. But I think it should be. I think it's a good strategy. So it requires patience. You buy into strong fundamentals. You buy value, the Warren Buffett value investor philosophy, and you wait for the market prices to reflect this reality, regression to replacement cost of those commodities, those ingredients of your houses and apartment buildings. And this is really one of the most reliable paths to wealth. The returns from long-term investing frequently take time to materialize, since they tend to come from cash flows and the avoidance of capital gains. and the avoidance of these depreciation recapture taxes that we talked about when we talked about 1031 exchanges in the prior lesson. Long-term investing requires staying power. It's absolutely critical that your investments give you the power to wait out rough patches in market valuation. So if prices go down, you do not want to be forced to sell. And in order to do that, you must follow my commandment number 5 of my 10 commandments of successful investing. What is that? We talked about it before, but it is thou shalt not gamble. In other words, the property must make sense the day you buy it or you don't buy it. And making sense is quantified in terms of income. Does the property produce income in comparison to its price? That's the fundamental qualifier of what value means. Okay, so action items here. Again, a nice, easy breezy action item. Describe the advantages of holding investment property for long periods of time, and use the provided template to help you out with that, and then just upload a screenshot, and I'll talk to you on the next lesson.